Hey everybody, I'm Ben Yee.
I'm Elissa Stein.
And?
We are talking about the Kavanaugh...
Oh, this guy again.
I know. And there's so much...
This guy again and forever.
Wait. I know, for as long as our lifetimes. There's so much I want to say.
No,
and
I
I'm
want to outlive
restrain
that guy.
myself. That's an absolutely worthwhile goal. But what I want to talk about is the fact that there's now a concentration of conservative power on the Supreme Court.
Yep.
And so there is a good, strong possibility that Roe versus Wade will be overturned, which is what idiot president promised.
Yeah.
And, so now that he's got 2 new Supreme Court justices on the court, it seems like that's a possibility at least. So what I want to talk about, and, while I'm seething in anger and disgust at people in this country, how would that affect New York State? Because New York State, because of the IDC and the idiots that we had up in the Senate, never passed a full regimen of women's reproductive health rights.
Really, any regimen.
Right, okay. So, if Roe versus Wade is repealed, where does that leave us in New York?
Well, first to talk about how Roe v. Wade would be repealed, as it turns out, I was looking into this, it's unlikely that they'll straight up countermand Roe v. Wade because Roe v. Wade is based on this idea that was created about the right to privacy.
Right.
And it turns out that a bunch of other things are predicated on the right to privacy too. And
is it gun ownership?
No, that's the Second Amendment. Oh. You don't have to construe that out of the Constitution. It says it right there. You do have to construe the part about no militia, though. Anyway, not going to get into that.
Okay.
But a bunch of other legal things are built on the right to privacy, so the odds of them completely eliminating that immediately, at least, is pretty small.
Oh, that's heartening in a small way.
A little. What they will do is they will start to chip away at
no doubt, I'm
the
sure.
rights that women do have and give more power to states to do things.
And so I was talking to my son about this because he said, what's the big deal? And I said, well, if it's bounced back from the Supreme Court and women aren't protected in that overarching way, then there are all these states out there will say, no abortion for you, no birth control pills, no.
Right. So there's a bunch of laws that have been introduced and have passed, and they'll wind their way through the Supreme Court. And the Supreme Court will going to say, this thing is okay.
Right.
And these things will be bad. But it won't completely eliminate Roe v. Wade. You'll still have the right to privacy, and then states will have to figure out what that means, and there'll be a series of court cases.
As this progresses, what in New York do we need to be thinking about?
In New York, we need to, first thing you got to think about is flipping the state Senate blue. Because look, the
midterms, voting.
Democrats in this state in particular have not necessarily demonstrated that they're the best, most upstanding people, but I guarantee you that if we get a blue Senate and a blue Assembly at the same time, we will be and a blue governor. So, okay, Andrew Cuomo, whatever. Even he couldn't stop this.
Right, he's purple.
Yeah, okay. Well, certainly on this issue, even though he did let it fail last time when the IDC was around and he didn't fight them on it, with a Democratic state Senate, you will get protections for the right to choose.
So everybody who's out there, most likely everybody who watches our show is a straight up Democratic voter. But if you know anybody who is wavering or is an independent, or if you have time on the weekends to canvass or phone bank or whatever you do in terms of working towards a get out the vote effort, this is it. Do it.
There are 3 state Senate districts which are flippable, red to blue, within an hour or an hour and a half of New York City.
Okay.
And 2 of them overlap with contested congressional races. There's Andrew Gennardis in South Brooklyn overlapping with Max Rose. And he's running for state Senate against Marty Golden, the only Republican in New York City. There's James Skoufis, who's up by the Hudson Valley, overlapping with
Hudson Valley.
Antonio Delgado.
Right.
And then there's Elaine Phillips. She's actually the Republican. I forget the woman's name who's running against her. But she's in Long Island, not too far either.
Okay. So these are close things. Everybody's talking about getting out the vote and Beto and all these elections nationwide, but it's so important to focus on New York State because you're right. If we can turn the Senate blue, the Assembly already is blue.
Yes.
So if we turn the Senate blue for real blue, we have a chance to make actually concrete things happen.
There is one last caveat that I
Is it
should
Simcha Felder?
really mention. It's not Simcha, because we've already calculated for this. We have to flip one more Republican seat.
Right.
But Tony Avella, who was in the IDC, is running against John Lewis still. He's decided to run on his third party lines that he got,
I was
conservative
wondering
and
if people were
yeah.
going to start doing that.
So Avella announced that he will, and that is truly a purple district. Before Avella was a legit Republican, and so there is a real thought that he could either win or fracture the
Or split
Democratic
the
vote
vote.
for so that a Republican wins. And so we also need to hold every IDC district against the challenger Republican or an IDC member who decides to continue running. So
Right.
John
Because
Lewis
we
suddenly
just do
becomes
not
really critical.
Trust these IDC people. I didn't when they said they were coming back, and I certainly don't when they're just deciding to run on a third party line as a way of getting their power back.
It would work well for them.
It would work well for them, but still no IDC. So our work is cut out for us for the next few weeks.
That's not an easy road.
It's not an easy road, but it is doable and it is flippable.
It's 100% doable.
Yeah.
Primaries prove that. If people can be as active in the general as they were in the primary, something that's usually that's not a statement you hear a lot,
I
then
know.
yeah.
Yeah. All right. So go do your civic duty, people.
Laters.
Get out the vote. See ya.